Imagine climbing the corporate ladder for 35 straight years. You hit every promotion. You negotiate every raise. You watch your salary climb steadily from $70,000 all the way past $280,000. On paper, it looks like the definition of success. Your LinkedIn profile gets likes. Your family celebrates each new title. The bigger paychecks feel like progress. But then you reach retirement age and you notice something unsettling. Your lifestyle never actually changed that much in real purchasing power. The raises came in, but so did higher mortgage payments, nicer cars, more expensive hobbies, upgraded subscriptions, and lifestyle upgrades that quietly absorbed every extra dollar. And your investments? They barely moved relative to what they could have been if you had captured those extra dollars early on. Here's the hidden mechanism that almost nobody calculates. Even with promotions delivering those tempting 8 to 12% jumps, real wage growth after inflation has been running at only about 1.4% over the latest 12-month period, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Meanwhile, a simple, low-cost index fund portfolio has historically delivered around 7% real returns after inflation over long periods. That small annual gap doesn't feel dramatic in any single year. It looks almost invisible year to year. But compound it over 3 decades, and it creates a quiet financial threshold that quietly separates the people who reach retirement feeling secure from those who still feel stuck, no matter how high their final salary climbed. Recent BLS data confirms this pattern. Nominal wages rose around 3.3% over the past year, but real average hourly earnings grew only 1.4% after adjusting for inflation. Promotions feel great in the moment, but the actual gain in what that money can buy remains modest. By the time most people notice the trap, the math has already locked in decades of missed compounding. Wait, what if the real trap isn't a lack of promotions or raises, but the widespread belief that promotions and salary growth alone will ever build real wealth? Today, I'm going to show you exactly how this salary trap operates in practice, why the constant chase for the next title and the next 8 to 12% bump keeps millions of hardworking people financially stuck, and the precise math that explains why true wealth requires a completely different approach. By the end of this video, you will understand the silent cost of lifestyle creep, the enormous power of the compounding gap between salary growth and investment returns, and the simple mindset shift that actually moves the needle toward financial independence. This matters right now more than ever because wages continue to rise in nominal terms. Yet for the majority of people, net worth is not keeping pace with the lifestyle they expect in retirement. My name is John, and I spend way too much time thinking about how money compounds versus how lifestyles expand. If you're someone who works hard, gets good raises and promotions, but still feels like true wealth and real optionality are always a few years away, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it helps you out. Let's get straight into it. Here's the thing. Most mainstream financial advice still celebrates the promotion as the golden ticket. Negotiate that raise, climb the ladder, earn more. And on the surface, it sounds completely logical. Recent employment cost index data from the BLS shows wages and salaries in private industry increasing 3.3% over the year, with promotions often delivering one-time jumps of 8 to 12% or more for high performers. But when you zoom out and look at the actual long-term outcomes, a very different picture starts to emerge. Let's walk through a realistic scenario that will feel familiar to most of you watching. We'll even follow 2 people side by side, so the difference becomes crystal clear. You're 30 years old, earning $70,000. You're ambitious. You get solid promotions every 3 to 4 years. Over a 35-year career, your salary grows at an average of about 4% nominally per year. That's actually optimistic and realistic for someone who consistently performs well and changes roles strategically. After 35 years, without adjusting for inflation, your salary would reach roughly $280,000 to $300,000. That sounds impressive on its own. Many people would look at that final paycheck and think, I've made it. Here's what most people don't realize. Inflation quietly erodes the real gain. Recent BLS figures show real average hourly earnings increasing 1.4% in the latest 12-month period, and longer-term real wage growth after inflation has often hovered between 1 to 2% annually, depending on the economic cycle. Even with stronger nominal growth in recent years, the actual increase in purchasing power remains modest. Now watch what happens when we compare that salary path to what could happen if you invested the marginal increases instead of letting them disappear into higher spending. Suppose you decide to live on the equivalent of your original $70,000 lifestyle, only adjusting that baseline for inflation each year, and you invest every extra dollar from raises and promotions. The difference is dramatic. Assume a conservative 7% real return after inflation, the long-term historical average for a balanced stock-heavy portfolio that invested raised delta compounds year after year. This is where it gets really interesting. Let's put some specific milestones on it so you can see the divergence in action. We'll follow Sarah, who follows the typical path, and Alex, who protects the wealth delta by investing 50 to 70% of every marginal raise. By year 10, both have a salary around $105,000. Sarah has saved the standard 10 to 12%, and her portfolio sits at roughly $85,000. Alex, having invested the extra raised dollars early, is already at about $170,000, more than double because those early dollars had 10 full years to compound. By year 20, salary for both is roughly $155,000. Sarah's portfolio has grown to about $280,000. Alex's is at $520,000. By year 30, salary around $230,000. Sarah at $480,000 in investments. Alex at $920,000. By year 35, salary hits $280,000 for both. Sarah ends with a solid but ordinary $650,000 portfolio. Alex finishes with $1.45 million or more in today's dollars. See how the salary line is identical, but the wealth line diverges dramatically because Alex captured the marginal growth early and let it compound. The salary itself becomes almost secondary. The invested capital starts doing the heavy lifting. Your promotion-fueled final salary might still hit $280,000 or higher, but your net worth could be several times larger than what the typical path delivers. And this is the dangerous assumption that traps so many people, that a higher salary automatically equals higher wealth. It doesn't, not without deliberately controlling the outflow side of the equation. Here's what most people don't realize. According to Vanguard's How America Saves 2025 report covering 2024 data, the median 401k account balance across all participants is only $38,176. For people aged 35 to 44, the median is $39,958. For 45 to 54, it's $67,796. Even for those 55 to 64, it's just $95,642. The average balances look much higher because a small group of high earners pulls them up. But the typical person is not building life-changing wealth through salary growth alone. This is where people get this wrong. They see the new title, the new paycheck, and they upgrade their life to match. The raise quietly disappears into a bigger mortgage, a nicer car payment, more expensive vacations, upgraded subscriptions, and higher everyday spending. Net result? The same financial pressure, just scaled up to a higher income bracket. That's the salary trap in its purest form. Now let's talk about why this pattern happens so automatically and so easily for most people. Human beings are not wired for absolute wealth. We are wired for relative status. When your peers get promotions and start driving nicer cars or posting about bigger houses on social media, your brain doesn't register, "I now have more financial options." It registers, "I need to keep up or I'll fall behind." This is perfectly normal psychology meeting modern consumption signals everywhere you look, especially on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, where everyone only shows the highlight reel and creates what researchers call status inflation. Lifestyle creep isn't greed, it's hedonic adaptation, the well-documented tendency for people to quickly return to a baseline level of happiness after any positive change in circumstances. A bigger salary feels amazing for about 3 to 6 months. Then your new normal sets in, and the extra money feels necessary rather than abundant. Suddenly, the old apartment feels too small, the old car feels outdated, and the old vacation feels boring. Recent surveys illustrate how widespread this remains. Bank of America's internal data shows about 24% of households living paycheck to paycheck in 2025, while broader self-reported surveys from MarketWatch put the figure at 57% to 67% of American adults. Even people earning six figures often feel the squeeze because spending has quietly risen to absorb every income increase. The Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances echoes this. Median household net worth grows far more slowly than income brackets suggest, precisely because of this unconscious spending creep. Here's the part nobody talks about in the glossy career advice articles. Every promotion comes with a hidden tax. Not the IRS kind, the lifestyle tax and the time freedom tax. The new role often means more stress, longer hours, higher expectations, and less control over your calendar. You earn more, but your peace of mind and actual optionality can actually decline. And the math compounds against you because the money you could have invested in your 30s and early 40s never gets those crucial early decades of growth. Think of your salary like a river flowing past your house. Promotions make the river wider and faster. But if you keep raising the banks, you're spending every time the water rises. The water level never builds up enough to create a reservoir you can draw from later. Investing is digging that reservoir. Once it's deep enough, the river can slow down or even dry up in places, and you're still completely fine. Without the reservoir, you remain forever dependent on the continuous flow of the next paycheck and the next promotion. The river controls you instead of the other way around. Now you might be thinking, but John, I need the promotion and the raise to afford a better life for my family. I can't realistically live like I did at 25 forever. That's a fair and honest point. Nobody is suggesting you should freeze your lifestyle at age 25. The issue is the automatic, unconscious matching of every single income increase directly to spending. There is a thoughtful middle path, intentional, planned upgrades that are funded by investment returns, rather than just the next salary bump. Let's make this even clearer by comparing two side-by-side paths over the same 35-year career. Scenario A, the typical path most people follow. Salary grows 4% nominally per year. Spending increases by roughly the same percentage. Classic lifestyle creep. You save a steady but modest 10 to 12% into retirement accounts. After 35 years, you end up with a decent nest egg, but you're still heavily dependent on Social Security and your final salary to maintain your lifestyle. The median retirement savings data we looked at earlier shows how common this outcome actually is. Scenario B, the wealth building path. You deliberately cap spending growth at inflation, plus only a few intentional upgrades each decade. You invest 50 to 70% of every marginal dollar from raises and promotions. That money compounds at 7% real for decades. The difference after 30 plus years isn't linear. It's exponential. A dollar invested at age 30 grows to roughly 7 to 10 times its value in real terms by age 65. Starting the same habit at age 40 requires dramatically higher savings rates later just to catch up. This changes how you look at retirement entirely. Let's look at what happens if you do nothing different. Here's what the average person does instead. They celebrate the promotion, upgrade the house or car, add more subscriptions, travel more lavishly. 5 years later, they feel exactly the same financial pressure, just at a higher income level. Then they chase the next promotion, hoping it will finally fix the feeling. Now let's see what happens if you delay taking control of this for just 10 years. The numbers get painful fast. If Alex starts protecting the wealth delta at age 30, he could easily reach $1.45 million or more by 65. If he waits until age 40 to start the same habit, he might end up with only about $720,000 instead. If he waits until age 50, the number drops to roughly $380,000. That 10-year delay means missing the most powerful part of compounding. The early decades where growth looks slow on the surface, but lays the foundation for everything that follows. A single dollar invested at age 30 can grow to about 7 to 10 times by 65. Starting at 40, you need roughly double the savings rate in later years just to reach the same outcome. It's still possible, but it becomes significantly harder and requires much more sacrifice later in life. This is the silent cost nobody puts on their budget. Not the money you spend today, but the future freedom and optionality you quietly trade away without realizing it. You might be thinking, promotions still matter for my career, my skills, and my professional network. They absolutely do. Career growth builds human capital and opens doors. The problem isn't promotions themselves. It's treating them as the complete and only wealth strategy instead of one important input among several much more powerful levers. So what can you actually do starting this month? Here are 5 practical, specific steps you can implement immediately. These are not complicated. They don't require genius or perfect timing. They require consistency and a willingness to question the default path. I'll walk you through not just what to do, but exactly how to do it, common pitfalls, and real examples so you can avoid the usual mistakes. Calculate your true lifestyle baseline once and for all. Spend the next 30 to 60 days tracking every single expense in detail using a simple spreadsheet or free app. Figure out exactly what it costs today to maintain your current quality of life. Then decide that going forward, you will only adjust that baseline for inflation, plus maybe 1 or 2 intentional upgrades per decade. Anything above that baseline becomes your protected wealth delta. Write the number down. Revisit it once a year. This single exercise alone changes how you see every future raise. For example, one viewer realized their baseline was $68,000, but they were spending $92,000 after their last promotion. They immediately redirected the $24,000 difference and never looked back. Common pitfall. People forget to include irregular expenses like holidays or car repairs. Make sure you average the last 12 months. Automate the marginal increases immediately. The moment you get a raise or promotion, go into your payroll or investment account and redirect 50 to 70% of the net increase straight into investments or extra debt payoff. Do it before the money ever hits your checking account. Set it up to happen automatically on payday. Out of sight truly becomes out of mind, and you remove the temptation to upgrade your lifestyle unconsciously. Many people set this up in their 401k or brokerage as a percentage increase tied to their raise letter. It takes 5 minutes and runs forever. Common pitfall. Waiting until the next paycheck to think about it. By then the money is already spent. Automate the same day you get the raise letter. Avoid lifestyle anchoring by deciding upgrades in advance. Before the next raise even arrives, write down exactly what, if anything, you will allow yourself to upgrade. New car only if the current one is genuinely unreliable, and you can pay cash or keep payments tiny. Bigger house only if it truly improves daily life and the numbers still work with your new wealth delta rule. Having the rule decided ahead of time removes the emotional decision-making when the extra money shows up. One couple I know wrote their rule on a note taped to their fridge. Next raise funds, extra retirement contributions first, vacation second, car last, and only if needed. It kept them disciplined through 3 promotions. Common pitfall, saying just this once. That once becomes the new baseline. Track one key metric every quarter, your savings rate on marginal income. Stop obsessing over your overall savings rate for a moment. Focus instead on what percentage of every new dollar from raises and promotions you are keeping versus spending. Aim for 50% or higher on those increases. This single number will tell you immediately whether you are escaping the salary trap or still feeding it. Put it in a simple spreadsheet. Review it every 3 months. It becomes your early warning system. If it drops below 50%, you know lifestyle creep is winning again. Common pitfall. Only checking once a year. Quarterly reviews. Catch problems early. Build awareness of your crossover point. Calculate roughly when your investment income could cover your lifestyle baseline, using a 4% safe withdrawal rate. Even a back-of-the-envelope version using current numbers changes your entire mindset. You stop seeing promotions as survival necessities and start seeing them as pure accelerators. Tools like free online calculators make this easy. Update the number once a year. Watching that crossover point move closer is incredibly motivating. One person I spoke with hit their crossover at age 48 and immediately felt the mental shift from "I need this job" to "I choose this job." Common pitfall. Using overly optimistic returns. Stick to 7% real to stay realistic. These steps are simple, they are repeatable, and they compound just like the money itself. Picture yourself 15 or 20 years from now. You have quietly broken the salary trap. Your investments have grown steadily in the background while promotions came and went. The next title still feels good when it arrives, but it is no longer your only lifeline. You have real optionality, whether that means more time with family, a career pivot without financial fear, a sabbatical to pursue a passion project, or simply sleeping better at night. Knowing money is no longer the boss of your life. You walk into meetings with a different energy because the outcome no longer controls your future. You finally have the freedom to say yes or no on your own terms. That kind of freedom doesn't come from climbing the ladder faster. It comes from changing how the money flows once you reach each new rung. If this video gave you a new way to look at your career and your money, comment below with the one number you're going to track starting this month, your marginal savings rate, your lifestyle baseline, or your current crossover point estimate. I read every comment and it helps me understand what topics to cover next. My name is John, and I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for educational purposes only. Always do your own research and make financial decisions based on your individual situation.